Slide to unlock. That's all it takes to open you up into a whole new world with endless opportunities. With students and teachers able to access things that everyday people can use with the touch of a button, you can really see what technology can do. With this current advancement, is it necessarily a good thing to always be on your device, or is it making people less social and more addicted?
Well, my job's a 24/7 job. Things can happen at all times, and always having access to my email and being able to contact people, and then get information about stuff from Genesis and whatnot. It's a huge help.
Definitely, I prefer using the iPad. To me, my handwriting is pretty miserable to begin with, so I've always been someone that my notes are always PowerPoints. So it just adds the ability for me to be able to walk around and quickly go from one application to the next. And if I need to write on the board, I can write on it using the iPad. So I'd much rather prefer using the iPad. I'm very glad that I joined the iPad program. It's been a great experience with it. You can see what you really can do with technology in your hands at all time. There's obviously points where people are playing games or they're instant messaging where it becomes a little annoying, but for the most part, it's usually a good class.
I think there needs to be a balance. I think from what we're seeing with kids today is they're doing a lot less socializing, and it's being done via texting and the cell phones electronically. So I would like to see, and hopefully that'll kind of correct itself, because you do need to learn how to interact socially face to face. What I found is kids will act totally different when they're texting it, not looking in somebody's eyes, but it's something they wouldn't say to somebody's face.
It's easier with the iPad in terms of just being able to get to technology. There's obviously some downside to it that you have to teach them how to use the iPad. You have to make sure that they're fluent with using that technology. It becomes a little bit difficult in terms of attention. But my argument always is that whether they have an iPad sitting in front of them or if they just have a cell phone in front of them, they're going to be sitting there getting messages. They'll be able to check their Facebook. So it's just a matter of trusting in the students and doing the right thing.
I think it's easier. It's definitely a lot easier. I mean, some of the stuff works better on a desktop. Some of our programs have not made the full transformation to a mobile device platform. But it makes my job, I feel, a lot easier, because instead of walking in the morning and then figuring out all the things that happen, all the emails, all the phone calls, they come to me and I can respond to them and be ready for them and get them and deal with them as they come, rather than wait a day or a weekend or whatever the case may be.
It depends on the lesson. Some lessons we use it very little. Every day we at least open up with them typing something in. They'll type something in at the end. Some days it's the whole lesson. I took some of my lessons that I had previously and I just infused the iPad into it.
When the opportunity presents itself, yeah, like Google Docs and like pulling things up that I need to know. And sometimes on a blue moon, the teacher will be like, all right, go search this thing on your phone.
Usually it's when I'm having personal time, when I'm home with my family and stuff like that, like on a vacation. I try to do my best not to keep plugged in, but there are times where I wish they would be turned off.
I try to tell them to keep the iPhones off the table, just because most of the things that they can do with the iPhone, they can do with the iPad. So it really doesn't make sense for them to have the iPhone out as well. My classes that are not iPad, I do like to have them out. I do like them to be able to go onto my e-board and check this and check that, or find out information as quickly as they can. But I would definitely say in the iPad class, it's much more, I would rather see them use the iPad instead.
Thousands of people are joining this trend daily, whether it's social media or buying their first smartphone, resulting in multiple people per families owning their own smartphone or tablet, as opposed to years ago when having a flip phone was technologically advanced.
A lot of it is just like messaging, iMessage, Twitter, other like social networks that like I don't need, but I use anyway, just because like I just do, and it's kind of addicting, like the whole internet thing.
Well, I have my own personal cell phone, which is an iPhone. I have a work iPhone. I have a work iPad, and then at home we have an iPad for the family, and we have my wife and my one son both have iPhones. I'd probably say for personal use, emails and stuff like that, I'm on the iPhone. But then anything where I'm using numbers or pages or creating, I got the keyboard for my iPad, And so therefore I can use it literally as a laptop and moving around. So like if I'm in a meeting, I'm taking notes on my iPad, but if it's just checking emails, getting back to people, it's on my iPhone.
I use an iPhone. So I own an iPhone. I've used it for years. Love my iPhone, and I have the iPad. We at some point, my wife and I keep on talking about switching over to eventually getting an AirBook or something like that. But we just haven't done it yet. Love the Apple products.
Well, the first phone I got was my brother's old Razr. It was one of those flip phones, which is terrible now. And it was like $400 or something new, which is ridiculous today. So that's where I started with the phone, and I had all the old iMacs, those very old ones, and I traded up through the years. Currently, I'm at brand new iPhone 5S and iMac. I won't give you an exact number, but we all have iPhones. We all have a Mac of our own, and my sister and brother have an iPad, so you can tabulate that. 13. If we're at dinner and someone's on their phone, I'll sarcastically give them crap about it. Even I don't really care, but my mom does. So I try not to though. I try to be in the moment and not look at my phone too much. Recently, I tried going as long as I could without Twitter and everything. I literally uninstalled the apps. I deleted them to see how it went, and I could manage, but it's just what's the point of just keeping myself from getting this new information and doing it, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you do it too much. So a day, yeah. A week, no. There are necessary parts to having a phone, but it's definitely, most of it is want. Most of it is totally unnecessary and unhealthy. But I do it anyway because that's what today is.
The products and the users have changed drastically since the first flip phones or home computers have been released. They're only becoming more and more used products in the world, and more people are jumping on the smartphone and tablet bandwagon. Where could this advancement lead us 20 years from now, as opposed to 20 years ago?
I remember when I got to college, email was basically new, which is interesting to think about now, that you didn't really do web searches on things. I graduated in 1996, so I don't want to say that the internet was new. It definitely wasn't, but it wasn't something that was mainstream in the classroom. We were paper, pencil. The projectors were all the overhead projectors that you wrote on. Most rooms didn't have a computer. I remember taking, in high school, I took typewriting. So I took just being able to type with a typewriter. And so, yeah, it's much larger role now than it was when I was in school. I think everything will be on this handheld device. I hope that it's something as big as this. So it's not me looking at my phone to do everything, but I think it's going to be everything. I think that's going to be how you get into your house. I think that's going to be, your ID is going to be that. I think everything is going to be on that device. Right now, we see little bits and pieces of it, that you can work your security system at your house. You can turn your lights on and off using that. You can adjust the temperature in your house. You can check videos on what's happening at your house. You can do all of this now already. I think it's only going to become bigger and better as the years go on. I definitely feel that technology is becoming a much bigger part of society. You have students now that can do things with iPads that my parents couldn't even think about doing. That how quickly they can get information, how quickly they can process that information and turn it into some real product, I think is amazing, and I think it's going to become more and more. Do I think that it's going to be the iPad eventually? I'm not sure. With Microsoft Surface coming out and you have all these different types of tablets, I think eventually it's going to go the way of something else. But yes, technology definitely is going to be the future.
It's becoming more and more ingrained. Almost to the point without it, it's hard to connect or, get things done.
Absolutely. That's like technology is just, that's such a broad term, but like just the things we have in our pockets and the computers and the internet and everything, it's all growing. More people are joining every social media site every day. It seems like it's just like 20 years ago, it was a lot different, and now it's like no one could have predicted what we were doing now 20 years ago. So, I mean, there's like promising things out there like Google Glass. I'm not sure if that'll be like adopted or well or anything. And then there's like the Oculus Rift, that virtual reality thing. That looks crazy, but who's to say if it's actually going to like embed itself in our culture and like be popular?
Looking back at how much more advanced we've become and all that we've learned, where does this leave us? What will become of the less social and more addicted kids? And what will be the new 20 years from now?